right, this is the Evan Ginzburg Show at Village Connection Radio. Yours truly, Evan Ginzburg. Jim Savali at the helm. I'm wearing my Phil Flames button, and he's right here with us.
Yes, I am.
There he is. And we're going to open with some music with Phil Flames.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name's Phil Flames, man, and we're here on the Evan Ginzburg Show, and I'm about to do some rapidy raps for y'all. All right?
Here we go.
Let's go. This is my get ready fingers right here, y'all. If anybody is watching. Yeah. The name of this song is called Race Against the Sun. Yeah. 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 In this race against the position of the sun. No idea how we win it. All we know is we in it. Eh? Yeah. And all we know is run. No idea what we running towards. Check. We're just pushed into this world, kicking, screaming, with no idea who we are, no idea what we are, no idea why we are, no idea how we are. All you know is it's cold, yeah. All you know is it's cold, yeah. All you know is it's freezing. All you know is you breathing, even if it's just barely. See, that wasn't so scary. That's changed, kid. Everybody gotta deal with. Some people embrace it, some people can't face it, some people are prepared, some people are not. Just focus on your affairs and show love wherever you are. Life gon' always try to sidetrack you, try hard to stay on your path. School children gon' laugh, but keep in mind on your math in this race against the position of the sun. No idea how we win it, all we know is we in it, eh? And all we know is run. No idea what we running towards or what we running from in this race against the position of the sun. No idea how we win it, yeah. All we know is we in it, eh? Yeah. And all we know is run. No idea what we running towards. Check. Everybody don't live. Everybody does die. Some people think this is it. Some people think there's a God. And I respect whatever you think's true, even if you don't do the same. Sometimes it's not about right or wrong, sometimes it's not about gains, but other times it sure is. Make sure that you know the difference. Always count your change, make sure they're different. Minds told people, average minds so convinced. Great minds think ideas, sometimes they even make sense, and that's real, yeah. Something everybody on this thing called Earth ain't saying. Truth is, everybody do things wrong. Learn from mistakes, let them go and move on. Man, I'm out here just trying to do something. I never felt right about working no job. Never felt flight till I opened my mind. Up all night trying to chase lost time in this race against the position of the sun. No idea how we win it. All we know is we in it, eh? Yeah. And all we know is run. No idea what we running towards or what we running from in this race against the position of the sun. No idea how we win it. All we know is we in it, eh? Yeah. And all we know is run. No idea what we running towards. Yeah. In this race against the position of the sun. So it's just a metaphor for going around the clock, man. You know what I mean? 24 hours a day. 7 days a week, 365 a year, man. Just try to live, trying to make it happen, trying to make it work.
Against the position of the sun.
That was rough, man. It was rough, but we made it through.
That really woke us up. I like that a lot.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Phil Flames with another one coming up.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So check. This one's called Quit My Day Job. And it starts kind of right away, so don't surprise me with it. Well, good morning to everybody that's listening. Yeah. Oh, bring it back for me. So it just starts right away.
Whoops, I'm sorry, bro. That's bad on my part.
It's all good. Let's do this. Can't tell you to take the steps if I don't do it first. Say you do it the best, you gonna do it the worst. They tell me practice makes perfect. You're saying if you do it every day, you get better at it. I mean, my first blunt roll was very whack. Now it's a shame it ain't no job positions for that. There ain't no job application to fill in for rap. You just gotta go hard and pray they relate. And in my history with resumes is any clue, my application probably wouldn't even get approved. I went on 25 motherfucking interviews. I thought this bachelor's was supposed to be my ticket through. I think somebody lied and took my money, fam, and I can't get none of it back with a clever scam. And now my mind is in overdrive, trying to keep my bank account over the minus sign. But I feel so alive, yeah. Wanna be the greatest. You gotta work, it takes time for that, yeah. It takes time, yeah.
Sometimes you take a loss, and when you feel
you made it,
you gotta take it further.
you gotta work, it takes time. It takes time. Shout out to Naika Saints. Yeah. Public transportation through these different states. Yeah, you can see determination in my face. Yeah, I just quit my day job yesterday. Woke up feeling no kind of stress today. I just feel energized, I just feel hungry. Easy E said, get the motherfucking money. You can see the blue key on me like a golly. You can smell the blue dream on me, man. Yeah, it's like my eyes finally open now. Either that or this some real potent loud. Yeah, everything they told us is a lie. Be the truth, free your mind, yeah. Wealth is not money. It's even if money never existed, y'all would still work with me or work for me. Gotta be resourceful. Let's put on our thinking caps. Make a plan, execute it. After that, repeat the steps, yeah. Yeah. It takes time for that, yeah. It takes time for that. It takes time. Right when you feel you made it.
You gotta take it further. You
Gotta work, it takes time for that, yeah.
It takes time for that.
It takes time, man. You gotta work for it, you know what I mean? Sometimes you feel like you're this close, man, and then you get tripped up and you fall back down.
You can stay down when you work.
You know what I'm saying? Get knocked down 6 times, get up 7, feel me? Put that work in, keep grinding, keep pushing forward. You're gonna get stressed out, you're gonna get depressed, but just keep moving.
Yeah.
You gotta work, it takes time for that, yeah. It takes time for that, yeah.
Sometimes you take a loss.
Right when you feel you made it.
You gotta take it further.
You gotta work, it takes time for that, yeah. It takes time. One more time for Naika Saints, y'all. You know what I mean? She's out here in these New York City subways, in these streets doing her thing, singing out here. You know what I mean? With those beautiful vocals. And my name is Phil Flames. And the name of this joint is QMDJ. You know what I mean? You can take me out with the fader, man. Yeah. Right on, man. I should have.
All right, Phil Flames.
That was
ladies and
great,
gentlemen.
man. That was great.
All right, and we're going to talk to Phil later in the show, and in just a few, we have comedian Nico White, national touring headliner Nico White, and later in the show, Mikey Mays, and pro wrestling ring announcer. He's also an actor, Mike Scott. So we have an eclectic mix as always right here at the Evan Ginzburg Show. And I'll be wearing my Phil Flames button throughout. So,
Me too.
Fashion accessory. So is Jim Savali,
I like it.
our engineer and the owner of the station, proudly wearing the Phil Flames button. So there you go. So thanks, Phil, and we'll have you back a bit later in the show to talk. So stick around, folks. This is the eclectic mix known as the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com, and we'll be right back after a very brief timeout.
Very brief.
There you go. Thanks, man. right. This is the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com, and I have an old friend. We've done several shows together in the past.
Several of them.
Nico White.
Evan, it's good to see you.
Same here, same here.
Since the last time I've seen you,
You are now headlining across the country.
By the grace of God, I am. And you have gotten wildly more successful since the last time I've seen you.
Well, I don't know about that,
No,
but I appreciate it.
Evan, I know. Look at this studio. Now, y'all can't see this, but we have white employees working for us.
Yeah.
We have all types of decorations, African art and things like that.
That's right.
But as always, you're sharp. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank
the
you,
desk
thank
is
you.
clean. I'm
There
happy
you
to be
go.
back, bro.
There you go.
Hello to the people that still watch this show. Thank y'all for keeping Evan in business and keeping an outlet for people like me to come and say hello every now and again.
That's right. That's right. And Nico, you've been, headlining across the country. Things have really been moving for you. Tell us about that.
So since last time I saw you, I was still in like that mid level. You know what I'm saying? Mind you, I'm still kind of there because I'm not a huge draw yet. That's the thing about comedy. The levels are so... Once you get to one, the difference is vast. Right. You know what I mean? So, since I saw you, I think I was... What was the year I was here last? Do you remember?
It was 2-3 years ago, I would say.
2-3
I lose
years
track
ago.
of time.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
It all goes so fast. But I know the last time I was here, I was working because my grandma was still alive, right? So I was a working comic, getting paid here and there, but it wasn't like 100%. Well, since then, some things have happened. I've done Montreal Comedy Festival. I was a new face on my first try, and that was one of those things that, like, when I did it, I'd never been seen for the JFL Festival. You know what I mean? And that's one of the bigger festivals for stand-up comedy. It's like that, and Edinburgh might be the top two.
Right.
But the JFL one is the biggest one we have. So I got an audition that I found out that I probably shouldn't have gotten. So they have a rep showcase, they have unrepped, right? So rep means you have representation, your representation sets it up. So there's a gentleman in New York Comedy Club named Emilio, he's one of the owners. So when the folks came around, they hadn't done a showcase in New York Comedy Club in like ages because the club wasn't that nice of a place. When Emilio and Scott took it over, they brought some ministry back, so they do the showcase. And Emilio hits me up. He's like, "Yo, do you wanna showcase?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" 'Cause that was something I never even got seen for.
Wow. And
And after 8 years doing stand up, and I had never been seen, I had never been looked at for it. And it's one of those things that would kind of get on your nerves if you let it. I was at an audition a couple years prior to that, and a friend of mine was auditioning. So he comes up and he's like, "Yo, when are you on?" I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not." And he goes, "Nigga, why?" Like there's certain times in my career where I felt like a punch to the gut, and he wasn't trying to be rude, but that felt like a punch to the gut. So when I finally got the opportunity to audition, I basically hate fucked that set. You know what I mean? That's 100% what it was. I was like, "You ain't never seen me in this long, and I'm gonna show you what you've missed." And by the grace of God, knock on wood, it went amazing. And a couple months later, they told me I go up there. Went up there, got the agent, got the manager. When I came back, I had secured a little hosting gig for the show with Vice News called How to Be a Person. And, by the grace of God, things been all right.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Could be worse. I wish I could, sell out. That would be dope. That's what I'm trying to get to. But, I cannot complain. It could be worse.
So how does a comedian get to that next step? I see endless content on Netflix, 1 hour specials. How do you get to that next level?
So for somebody like me, I'm one big credit away from being able to do what I would really like to do, which is go on the road and draw big. Right. So like a job, if I was able to get something like an SNL, a daily show, or something in that vein, or get the opportunity to do the special, do the late night set, all those types of things would help somebody in my position, because I'm a really good comedian, but you need more people that are willing to come out and pay a ticket for you. Sure. Because clubs, they'll have you out. Because I went to Chicago, did Zanies, I've been to San Antonio, you know what I mean? And I can go around. But it's about how many people will come out. Because comedy clubs are still basically bars. Right. So they need people to buy the drinks and buy the food.
And how has the glut, and I say this positively and negatively, the glut of comedy on TV affected the comedy clubs?
The glut of comedy on TV affected it? I mean, I don't think it hurts it. exposure doesn't hurt it if you have somebody that's properly exposed in your club.
Right.
But then that leads to anybody who's exposed being in the club. I saw that Nene Leakes is going to be headlining the club. And like Tammy Roman, they're both like real housewives of one is of Atlanta and one's a basketball wife. And I can't lie, it kind of like hurt to see that.
Right.
Because it's like, well, I mean, damn, as hard as us
Real comics.
Right.
Yeah.
As hard as we work
Yeah.
to get a crowd, but then again on the other side, it's like, well, what are we not doing? Because she's going to come through and she's probably going to sell it out, and that's the hard part.
So why don't you do a podcast like so many comics?
Because it's like, okay, let's say I do a podcast. Now, podcasts, like anything else, you've had this show for so long, and it's all about repetition, right? You got to keep doing it.
Same
keep your
time
energy
every week. Yeah.
every week. And I have so many responsibilities. Now, what people don't understand about being a full-time stand-up comic is this is a full-time job.
Sure.
Now, that's all a part of it. But then I would have to think about, okay, what is it that I'm going to talk about? Am I going to have guests? There's a lot to do to maintain a podcast. Now, am I paying for it? Am I having somebody else latch on and then pay for it? If I do have sponsors, I have to go out and find out who the sponsors are going to be. So it's all a lot to do. So I probably am going to get one, but I don't know where, when, or what it's going to look like.
Yeah, because many times if somebody has a podcast, it's like you're in somebody's house already. Then you hit town, they feel like they know you, and then they come out to the club. So
True.
So there's pluses and minuses like anything else.
100%. You just got to be willing to, when you jump in, you got to be willing to jump in all the way. And that's that person I am. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Do it right.
So I hope that maybe 2019, because I'm gonna be 25 in May.
Wow, you're old.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So old. You think I don't feel it, bro?
Yeah.
11 years going into doing this though.
11 years.
Mm-hmm.
He started at 14.
Yeah.
So how many gigs have you done? Would you estimate?
More than 5,000.
5,000.
More than 5,000.
You ever hear the theory? They say it takes 5,000 hours of anything to be great.
Well,
so you kind of the proof of that.
Well, I hope so. I hope you come out and see me and see if that's the case. But I agree with that mantra. I feel like the more work you put behind something, the better. The better the outcome.
I mean, Beyonce or Jay-Z or whomever, they've been out there 30 years. They didn't, they put in their 5,000 hours
and
much
then some.
more, and then some. So I find it interesting. When I was a kid, a comic would go on the Tonight Show, and they were overnight a
Successes.
star. Next thing, they were in Vegas, Atlantic City, headlining across the country. Now there's a glut of just TV.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean as much to be on the Tonight Show or whatever. Why did that change?
I can't tell you. There's so many channels now. Like when you were a kid and you were watching, there was probably like 3 channels, and TV went off at a certain
3 main
time.
channels. Yeah, there were maybe 13 channels plus UHF. We'd watch wrestling on UHF.
Right.
Yeah.
So after all that went off, the TV was done. So think about that exposure. So now what might be 500,000, 1 million, 2 million people watching, I don't know, The Late Show with somebody. That wasn't the case when Joan Rivers and all those folks were doing it. It was 13, 20 million people.
Right.
And they had more respect for famous people who are artists, because they weren't oversaturated with information on these people and their real lives. When George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, when those folks would come to your town, it's like, oh, I just saw him on TV. As opposed to now, it's like, ugh, I just saw him on TV. Because you're seeing us on TV for completely different reasons.
Right.
Most times, you would hope it's in a positive light. But there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, well, this person just fell down the stairs, or this person just disrespected the barista or something like that.
Right.
You're on TV for everything. They're too involved in celebrities' lives.
Interesting.
Way too involved.
And
so
you just mentioned some of the greatest comics in history. Who do you consider the Mount Rushmore of comedy?
Ooh, for me or just in general? Because those are two different things.
Your personal taste.
Okay, my personal taste. Ooh, this is hard. My personal taste, the Mount Rushmore. So, Bill Cosby, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, and Martin Lawrence.
Really?
Yeah.
Martin Lawrence over Richard Pryor.
And this is
Really?
why. But this is why. Because I basically went eras, right? So without Bill Cosby, you don't get Richard Pryor. Mm-hmm. Now I could have named Dick Gregory because without Dick Gregory, you don't get any of them. But without it, Pryor did Cosby for a couple of years, and he was able to get on TV and stuff like that. Then had the breakdown saying, "I'm tired of doing this shit," and became what he became that led to everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take out Cosby, you don't get that. So that's why Cosby was.
Well, there's no right or wrong answer. It's all subjective anyway.
Right, and then you got Martin, who ushered in what was Def Comedy Jam, and that broke how many black comedians in a generation. I could have named Eddie. He came to mind. Pryor came to mind, but that'd be my 4.
I used to see Dick Gregory on Broadway. He would come out with the daily newspaper, today's newspaper, and do 2 hours just off the newspaper. Total improv.
I seen him before he died. He did the same thing.
It's always better to see them before they die than after.
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
When I saw him at Caroline's, like the first few jokes, a friend of mine was next to me. He's like, "Oh, this is Def Jam Dick Gregory," because he was so raw but so on point at 80-something years old.
Dick Gregory was a genius.
And the funniest thing I ever seen, right? So there was an opener. He had his opening act that night. This is at Caroline's, and Dick Gregory is like probably top 2, especially at the time, top 2 most important black comedians living. Yeah. Right?
He opened all the doors.
All of them.
Yeah.
So we all in the back. Every comic is in the back of Caroline's watching this show, and his opener messed up his name.
Really?
Yo,
really?
I can't make up no shit like that.
Wow.
So she goes, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, come to the stage, put your hands together for Mike Gregory."
Mike Gregory, wow.
But here's the beauty of it, right? The audience stood up. He didn't come out for 5 minutes. He didn't come out for 5 minutes. It just left her up there, basically.
Yeah.
And then casually walked out. And he was so respected that his crowd stayed on their feet and gave him a huge standing ovation. His opening line was, "I would have been out sooner, but I was in the back changing my diaper." And nobody could tell if he was joking or not. It was like he didn't even hear the mess up. And went on to do an hour in like 2 minutes.
Wow.
At 80-something years old.
Speaking of respect, I saw Richard Pryor at the very end, and he was sick, and he wasn't walking well. He wasn't in the wheelchair yet. He wasn't walking well. He did about 45 minutes at Westbury Music Fair, and he was kind of like a shell of what he was. But as he walked to the dressing room, everybody like touched him, like it was a sacred, figure.
Yeah,
and it was very moving, because you knew this was the end.
Right.
And we never saw him again after that, and he was dead a few years later.
Right, but you also knew he was something special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of anything like that. Like, I really want to see Paul Mooney.
I saw Paul Mooney many times.
Yeah.
He's slowing down. He has some health issues.
Yeah, well, I would love to see him before anything happens.
Paul Mooney wrote for Richard Pryor.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's guys like that you won't see too many. You won't see too many like that.
Paul Mooney, it's always interesting, he's always very topical, and there's always like the 2 or 3 white people that flee in terror in the middle of the act.
Oh, yeah.
It's always interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he seems to embrace that, and at the end of the day, shit, you paid for it, so.
Well, it's Paul Mooney. You kind of know what the show is going in.
I don't understand. I'm not leaving a show that I paid money for. Yeah. No matter how much I'm enjoying it.
Well, speaking of that, we live in very
sensitive times.
Very sensitive times where America's totally divided, and if you get too political, you're immediately dividing half the audience, especially in a major city. So how do you handle that as a comedian? Do you avoid politics or not at all?
No, not me anyway. It's one of those things where it's never what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
And
when you say it.
And
you
when
can't
you
do a
say
9/11 joke on 9/12.
Well, I mean, you can.
That's not going to work.
That's not true. You most certainly can do the joke. It's about your energy and about if you can make that crowd understand you, you'll be fine. You'll be 100% fine. There's a story about Joan Rivers going up literally like the day after, 2 days after 9/11, and doing a 9/11 joke and killing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Was it Greg Giraldo that used to tell that story? I think so. And the crowd lost their minds of how good it was.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? But I feel like now people fake their outrage a lot more now. I don't feel like people are really that outraged. I had a lady, I was headlining this club out here in Long Island, as a matter of fact, the brokerage. And I was talking about the cops. And, I'm obviously, black. And I have my feelings about the cops and their bullshit, right? So now I do my joke on the cops, and I heard that a lady left, right? And her reason was, well, I'm a Blue Life supporter. No, oh, are you? Really? And you ain't wait to hear the end of my joke? You know what I mean? Because first of all, I feel like if you gonna get mad at something, get mad if I lie. You know what I mean? I ain't lying to cops. You do fucking kill black people at a very high rate. That's astounding to me. And by that same token, I truly do think if you were caught killing dogs the same way you kill us, there would be white women out in front of police stations ready to chop off heads. That's what I think.
So we need some videos of cops killing dogs then, is that right?
If you found 5 videos and they got the same exposure on the media, I bet you all those cops lose their jobs and pensions.
You want to know something?
I put money on that.
I say all the time, you'll see some homeless guy who's in horrible condition and people will walk over him, but if a dog is sick, 2,000 people want to adopt a dog, right?
Bro,
yeah.
But I'll give you something better than that. They don't even show the 10 cents a day for the kid commercials anymore. When is the last time you seen one of those? Meanwhile, they'll get the ASPCA and all those animal. You could donate $100 a second for this dog, and that commercial runs during the Super Bowl. Okay, yeah. They are making all the money. All the little orphanated kids, you don't see that anymore. It doesn't even come on. Right. Dogs every 10 seconds.
The minute this show ends, I'm starting a phony dog charity.
You and me both. I already started mine.
Yeah.
In fact, that commercial is mine. Just don't tell nobody.
Yeah. So Nico, where you playing next?
That's a good question.
You're playing like every night, but
I do
plug whatever you want to plug.
Okay, well, if anybody cares to keep up with me, 100% look me up on Instagram at NicoWhite93, NekoWhite93, or check out my website, and hopefully with my Introducing Me tour, that's what I call it now. You remember I shot that independent special?
Yeah.
Introducing Me. So that's why I named my tour, and it's going to be that until I shoot the next thing. But NicoWhite.com, that's NekoWhite.com. Look me up, check me out, and hopefully come see a show. Tell me that you saw me on Evan's show, and I'll give you a hug.
There you go. That's a bonus. And tell us about our next guest, since he's a friend of yours. And...
Oh, you bring up my homie next. All right. So, yeah. Yeah. He said, Nico, bruh. Coming to your couch next is a comedian named Mikey Mays. Now, I met Mikey, I think, 2 years ago? Or something like that. We were doing a show out in Jersey, right? So, the night before, they had this, it's the Comedy Island of Misfit Toys. It's called Comedy Fight Club. And I seen him, and we were close in age proximity, right? So we got to talking, and he basically said to me something that, because I'm one of the young dudes on the scene or whatever, right? And he's like, yeah, well, I look at guys like you, blah, as if we can compete with each other. So it's like, okay. So we go do a show in Jersey together the next night. I'm closing the show. Mikey's on the show. Mikey had a good set. Right. I killed.
Right.
And it's like, oh, we're not competition at all. But we actually became good friends. He's a hell of a comedian, and whenever he can, slow down and not, jump over his words and stuff like that. But it's my opening act.
And since you mentioned that, is there a support system with comedians, or is it very competitive?
It depends. So I can compete with you only if it's positive. You know what I mean? If it's positive. So like Mikey, for instance, right? It'll never be one of those things where if he's going before me on the show, it's like I got to make sure Nico can't have a good set. That's not how that. That's not how that works. You know what I mean? And I'll never watch him murder and be like, I got to get him off this show. This motherfucker's doing too well. That'll never be the case. When you make friends, there's certain people that can call you at certain times in the day. You know what I'm saying? And you keep those people around. People that you don't like to fuck with, they probably ain't working with you anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Go for it.
If one of you made it big, either of you, would the other one be happy or jealous?
Oh, happy. 100%. 100%. If Mikey made it before I did, that would be, first of all, against all odds. You know what I'm saying? But if it happened, dope. Because I know I got a job.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's positive.
Yeah. So
All
that's how you gotta look at that.
All right, so what we're going to do is take a very brief time out. We're going to bring up Mikey Mays.
And they're gonna bring up Mikey Mays,
And
the
later
best
in the
comic
show,
from New Mexico.
we'll have both you guys together and we'll talk comedy in general.
Oh God.
All right, so we'll be
All
right
right.
back with Mikey Mays, ladies and gentlemen.
Way down on the ride to Dover, guns, colognes, and porn all over the streets were replete with signs of the times, designed by the violence, the money-hungry mind that said, I'm wondering how this could possibly be. Firefly, follow me right down the street. Free love, soul flow is the prime goal. Emancipate your mind, baby, watch the show. Where you laugh at our dreams. I can't help but believe. Here we fall, then we fall. Man, there's some good company. Those that die to live a dream are with me. If we believe we can roll, your opinion matters no more. You're wasting your time and also mine with your sarcastic disbelief. If only you could know what it means. When you laugh at our dreams, I can't help but believe. Here we fall, then we fall. Man, there's some good company. Those that died are with me. Come on. And I know when I dream, each lonely night as I lay and I sleep, if it's all in my head, why am I standing right here?
All right, we are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com, and we are joined by comedian Mikey Mays. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me. This is
Absolutely.
awesome.
There you go. There you go. And tell us a little about yourself. It's your first time on the show.
I'm a comedian. I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
What's funny in New Mexico? I've never been there.
It's a very strange place. It's like it's a desert town that wishes it was a bigger town, but it's still the Wild West. So it's like open carry law, and there's no black people.
Really?
It's weird. Like every black person that lives in New Mexico, we have this feeling. Like we walk out, we ask Jesus every day. Like, are you sure you have the right address? Like,
Yes.
Are you sure? Because it's a different place. But I didn't really know how important it was until I left. If that makes any sense. You know, how, like sometimes you'll be from somewhere and you're like, oh, this place sucks. But then once you leave it, you realize that has a lot to do with who you are and how you are. Yeah, it's a very strange place, and I'm a very strange person. So so we could thank New Mexico for that.
So what's the good, bad, and ugly of New Mexico?
The good is the freedom. Like people will just talk. I didn't know that people don't do this, but people will just have a conversation with you in New Mexico. They'll just like if you're at the grocery store, they'll be like, "Hey, yeah, so anyway, my wife and we just got this new kitchen set," and you're like, "Dude, I just want to buy these eggs."
Yeah.
Whereas in New York, everyone's got people like things to do, places to be, so that no one ever really wants to talk to you about anything. It's like, "Hey, do you want to buy this? Cool, leave." Like So
yeah, if somebody walks up to me in New York, I assume they're going to hit me up for money or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody's just nice to be nice in New York, and that's the one thing you miss about New Mexico. Sometimes people just talk to you because they don't have anything else to do.
Really?
They don't have anything else to do. It's a poor place, people. But that's another thing. We call it the land of mañana, which is procrastination is. I'm great at it. I am great at procrastinating. If there's one thing I got from New Mexico, it's that. Like I'll put something off for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it's because we like to live life. We don't really like to worry about working so much. It's not as important.
So it's laid back.
It's very laid back, which is not a good skill set to have when you move to a place like New York. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
The bad though is that it's laid back. Back and it's small, and a lot of times people don't ever want to leave it. People are like, "Oh, this is it. I'll be the cool guy here." That big fish in a small pond kind of.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. As a tourist, do I have any motivation to go there? Yeah.
Yeah. If you want good food and to just be at peace for a second, it's a great. Like you will get a great night's sleep.
Okay.
So if you're tired, if you're feeling tired and you need a place to, then New Mexico is definitely the spot.
All right. And tell us some career highlights.
So career highlight, I met Nico on your show. No, before I even moved here, I got to do a show out in New Mexico for it was an 800 seat theater, and it was awesome. And a local DJ from New York actually came out. His name was Cypher Sounds, and then this local Southwestern superstar, his name is Chingo Bling. They came out and I got to go on the show because it was like a radio show and they were putting a comedy show together. And hey, we want you to open. And that was the first time where I realized I could be funny enough to move to New York.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that's probably my career highlight so far because that's what got me to New York.
I'll tell you a funny story with 800 seats. BB King's on 42nd in Times Square. I host a show there. I get on the mic. There's 800 people staring at me. The mic's not working. You feel like a deer in the headlights.
Oh boy, yeah, because you're about to monologue it for the front row. You're like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I got these jokes just for you guys. Yeah. It gets real hot up there when things start.
That 30 seconds feels like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm, when things start to not work or go the way you planned, but.
We have Mike Scott later in the show. He's a ring announcer. I'm sure he could tell you about bad mics also. But so the New York comedy scene. Give somebody an idea what it's like to climb that ladder, because it can't be easy. There's a lot of competition in a city like New York.
There's a lot of competition. What I've learned, honestly, don't worry about the competition. Don't just do what it is that you came to do. You can't focus on what somebody else is eating on that place. Like for example, if I spent time worrying about my friend's getting this and he's getting that, then I would never have anything.
Sure.
So because there's thousands of comedians in New York City, and there's thousands of people coming to New York every day just to come pursue this dream. New York is a place where dreams happen for everything.
That's right. New York and LA.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when you start thinking of, how do I compete with this person? How do I be better than this person or that? Then it's gonna be.
So let me rephrase the question. How do you attain an original voice as a comedian when there's so many comedians out there?
You got to look all those things you thought were too embarrassing to share about yourself. All those things that you were trying, all those secret. You know how everybody keeps a secret from themselves. Like how sometimes you stick your finger in your belly button and you smell it. People usually keep that a secret. They don't want it, but all those little secrets that you keep to yourself, those are your original thoughts. Those are yours. Those are the things you come with. Those are your bullets. That's what you load your gun with. So when you're on stage, you tell those stories because they're yours, and and that's how you keep it original.
Wow. And who are some of the comedians that have influenced you?
So you guys were talking about Dick Gregory a lot, and Dick Gregory had a joke. His joke, one of his jokes was, I was at a restaurant and they came over and they said, "We're sorry, we don't serve coloreds here." He's like, "Good, because I don't eat them."
Right.
And
That's
that
famous, yeah.
And that changed my whole perspective on how to even approach comedy. Because to take something that dark
And make it funny.
and to make it that funny, and to see how people, and when that punchline hits, and the room just pops, and you're just like, and that's how I like to do my comedy. I like to drag people into the deep end, and let's see if you swim. And sometimes it works out for me, and sometimes it doesn't. But that's the risk you play, because that's, I think, what comedy is. So Dick Gregory is my number one influence, and then, believe it or not, I honestly like watching my contemporaries. Like, I like watching Nico work. I like watching Nori Davis work. I like watching all the people who, because comedy is relatable.
Sure.
So I could say Pryor, like when I listen to Pryor, I'm like, wow, this man was great, and I get that he was a legend, but I wasn't around to see him. So
seeing Richard Pryor in movie theaters doing his live act, it was electric. Every seat in the theater was packed. It was like being in Madison Square Garden. You had 1,000 people in a theater laughing at the same time, and this guy was like tearing his heart open, pouring his soul to. It was an incredible experience to see him, even in the theater, let alone live. I saw him live also.
See, that's amazing, and that's the thing I think people with comedy, I don't want to say is missing now, but excuse me, how you that feeling that you had, like even when you're talking about Richard, how you kind of you light up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing now. So if I look at all the old greats instead of just looking at the people who you could see are about to be great or about to, then it's kind of.
Well, 1,000 years ago, you would have a sage, a storyteller, people like wise men, and somebody like Richard Pryor comes along once in a lifetime. It's really something special.
He is, and but without Richard Pryor, I honestly don't think I would be able to do comedy, because I was adopted when I just found out I was adopted a few years ago. So when I was an adult, I found out I was adopted. I was raised in a group home. I have a bunch of stories, but I'm telling you, the sadder my stories are, the funnier it is on stage. And it's this weird poetic thing so it's cathartic almost.
Yeah.
And but
is there anything you wouldn't talk about?
No, I think that's when it comes to like political correctness and all that stuff. I think that's just for lesser. Like if you're a comic and your job is to make people laugh, then you should be able to talk about everything. But that being said, we're talking about everything. You should be able to be, willing to take whatever consequences come with it. But that's the job. The job is to be able to, like, we got into this so we could talk about things. Right. So why wouldn't we want to?
But sometimes, for example, on Facebook, somebody will post something, and I'll go, they shouldn't have said that. That was really crossing a line. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there is a line, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the comedian is the one who gets paid to cross that line. That's why when somebody talks about cheating on his wife, you're laughing because those are all the things that you wanted to say, right. But you never got a chance to say. Right. It's. For example, like I want kids. I decided that I want kids, but I only want one kid. I just want one kid, because if I have more than one kid, then I'm gonna have a favorite, and I'm too much of a jerk not to make it obvious, So if like one kid asks me like, "Hey, Daddy, how come he gets more ice cream than me?" I'll tell him, because we had him on purpose.
Right. Yeah.
That's why he has my name, and I only see you every other weekend, like that. So it's like those things you can't just. Most people aren't allowed to say those things.
Right.
I get to say those things because I get to say what I'm feeling. That's the beauty of being a comic. People who do comedy don't do it for the money. They do it for that freedom to say the things that no one else can.
Have you seen I'm Dying Up Here on Showtime?
I haven't seen it I've seen a couple episodes.
It's tremendous.
I actually saw a Richard Pryor episode that they did, and it was funny because the guy they got to play Richard Pryor was like, that's not Richard, but the message and like how because a lot of times, that's another thing too that I realize a lot of movie people do. They like to glorify really dark things, but that's what I'm Dying Up Here does really well, is they make it real. They make comedy this real thing. Like, no, this is serious. This is they don't make it all fluffy and and I think that's beautiful. And it was a beautiful episode. Yeah. I was like, that's great.
It's one of the best shows on TV.
It's a great one. But
you feel it's accurate?
I feel like it's pretty, but again, though, I wasn't around in the 70s.
Right.
So, but to see what I see with comics, local comics, I'm like, you know how like some things change and some things just get older. Like, and that's all it is. This game has been around long before I have, and I'm just in it now.
Yeah.
And so when you see it on TV, you're like, oh, they went through the same things that we're doing now, and this was the 70s, and they didn't have cell phones or any of that, but it was just different. It was the same struggles, just different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Would you, if you had the choice, would you like to be one of the greatest stand-ups in the world, or a quote-unquote movie star? Because sometimes people branch into acting, of course. Now, what I've seen, unfortunately, is Richard Pryor made a lot of bad movies. Eddie Murphy made a lot of god-awful movies. And sometimes, you have this immense talent, and it's being squandered, whereas doing stand-up, that's really your art. I mean, but you could make a fortune making a bad action movie.
If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna give you $10 million to be in Jungle Book 3, and you you have to play Baloo the bear or some," I'm taking the $10 million. I'm taking the $10 million, Evan. But no, I would like to. At the end of my career, I'd like to be revered as one of the greatest. Yeah, but I'm weird. Like I'll run into, because New York City is a crazy place. You'll just run into famous people. So I'll run into famous people, and I'll be like, I wonder if they know whose hand they're shaking right now. So it's different. So, but you have to. I keep that mentality, like I'm going to be great, and then I do the work to make sure it happens.
Okay. Let's say it's a Saturday night, and for whatever reason you weren't performing. Which comedians would you pay to see? Which comedians are great enough that you would pay to see them?
I would pay to see. I don't know. It's weird.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock? No.
Really?
No, because I went to a Dave Chappelle show once, and it was great. It was great, but I realized, because we're comics, so we're always in the back of the room with comedy clubs. So when you go to see somebody that big and that great, and you're in the theater, and you see it, you're like, wow, this is great, but I could have saw this at the, it's the same thing. It's just with a lot more people. So I mean,
I'd pay to see Chris Rock. I'd pay to see Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I would want to pay to see somebody who's not like in the type of genre of because like everyone has a style of comedy. Right. I would want to see like someone like I'd see Jim Gaffigan or like Mike Birbiglia or somebody who I'm not familiar with.
Right.
Like just to see
it's different.
Yeah, what is it about? Because they're also big, huge comedians. So what is it about them? Like, because I always want to know, like, what is it about them that makes people tick?
Sure.
Yeah, because comedy is so fun. Like when people laugh, like if I write a joke and people laugh, I'm like, that's awesome. But then I want to go, but why are they laughing? Mm-hmm. What is it about this that makes them laugh?
Yeah, some comedians are more storytellers than comedians. Everybody has a different take on things.
Yeah, it's one of the strangest things. My mom is a great storyteller, great, and my dad not so great.
Right.
But to see them, like my mom will tell a story to my dad and have my dad cracking up, and I'll be like, she's doing what I do. But it's just a story. She doesn't label it as a comedy. There's comedians like that, and then there's the comics who just write the one line, like they know how to make. All right, I'm gonna put this word in. And they make those one-liners.
This is way before your time, but I saw Henny Youngman, who was the king of the one-liners. Mm-hmm. This guy would knock off like 200 jokes in 40 minutes, and you would just keep laughing the whole. I mean, it wasn't anything profound like Richard Pryor, but you enjoyed it,
Yeah, I'm actually familiar with him just because you got to be a student of the and
Henny Youngman.
Mm-hmm, he had him. He had him for days and days. He's the type of guy too. You can go to no matter where you are. It seems like he'll probably have a new one for you. If you're at a bar, he seemed like that. I don't know him because he's gone. He's gone. He's been gone a long time before I even entered. But he seemed like like sometimes you can tell what type of person a person is by the art they left behind.
Yeah, that was a whole different scene back then. The Borscht Belt, the hotels, up in the Catskills. These were like older Jewish comedians. It was a whole different thing. Yeah.
I always wondered what it would be like to be in those mob clubs, like back in the day, like when Dick Gregory, because Dick Gregory is the first black entertainer to actually
he
like,
opens all the doors.
you know, and like and how Richard Pryor tells the story about how he's performing at a mob club. Just all these like where there's like this aura around it, where there's this energy, this negative energy, and to be a comic in that kind of environment must have been great. It must have been because that's.
What about some of the older blue comics like Red Fox and Rudy Ray Moore?
Rudy Ray Moore, I was never really a fan of.
He also sang.
Yeah,
acted.
That's what because like I didn't consider him a like I was like, oh, he's funny, but this is like that funny like funk kind of.
Yeah.
It's that mix, that weird mix. But Red Fox was amazing.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was always that drunk uncle kind of like he was gonna come in and just say something, and he's gonna have you rolling. Red Fox is great. I think Bernie Mac was also, but he's not super old, but you know he's blue, so it counts. Patrice O'Neal was a big influence on me, but yeah, as far as like I used to Eddie Griffin. That's what I was thinking of. You know how like sometimes you get a word you can't figure out the name. Eddie Griffin is, I think, underrated, super underrated. He's one of those guys who will give it to you. Yeah, well, because the difference, like I would pay to see Eddie Griffin over Chris Rock.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, because Chris Rock does this thing where he'll educate you and enlighten you and make you laugh, but Eddie Griffin does the same thing, but with less of a white filter. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Or did that just come off racist? All right, cool. Yeah, because like Chris Rock he's great at getting the message across towards both. He's a crossover comic, like I am, like you know. But he gets a message across towards like white audiences better. Whereas Eddie Griffin will just say it. He'll just say it what it is. Right. There's no sugar on it, and that's I respect. You know, because that's again.
You know who I saw recently that left an impression? I saw Patton Oswalt do an hour on Netflix, and he gets into his wife suddenly dying, and he goes, "It's all random. You know, she ate healthy, she exercised, and boom, she suddenly died." And it just, you know, not only was it funny, it was moving and it was profound, and it taught you something. You know, that life is very random. You know, good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good people.
Exactly. That's the beauty of comedy. Comedy is, we're basically telling you, like, comedy is this. Comedy is saying, hey, look, you're gonna die one day, but it's okay. That's basically what comedy. Because when Patton Oswalt came out with that special, I felt so weird about it because he came out and I was excited, but I was excited because I knew he was going to talk about his wife. Yeah. But he's a master at. So I was like, okay, how is he going to go about this topic?
And Chris Rock got into cheating on his wife and it was painful. It was painful. You know how the family ripped apart, the marriage rather. And it was painful to watch, but it was still funny. You know, and Patton Oswalt, it was painful, but it was funny.
And that's who we are. Nothing is exempt. So basically, if we can, like when I told you earlier, like I'm not afraid to talk about anything. But I have to be fair. Like if I'm going to go off and I'm going to talk about children or I'm going to talk about other people, I also have to have that same discipline to look in the mirror and be able to talk about myself and whatever is happening with me. And that's what makes people resonate with you, you know?
Absolutely. So what do you have coming up?
I'm doing Yonkers Comedy Club May 6th at 7 o'clock this Sunday, and then I'm doing Stress Factory on Mother's Day. It's an early show though. It's 4 p.m. because it's Mother's Day. Mothers like to be out early and get drunk on Sundays, I guess. So yeah, and then I have I just started a new YouTube series called The News with Mikey Mays, and we basically talk about, you know, topical stuff that happens that week. It's a weekly show. We try to make it happen.
And when you talk about the news, as I mentioned with Nico before, you know, the country's very divided. I mean, is there anything you're a little nervous about talking about by possibly alienating the audience?
I'm not nervous at all because I feel like people who enjoy my type of comedy understand that I'm just going to say what it is that I'm thinking about it. So when it comes to politics, when it comes to religion, when it comes to anything, I usually go with what am I feeling in my gut versus are people going to like this? And usually, and that's what draws people to me. like is the fact that he's gonna say it regardless.
So you're gonna be true to yourself as opposed to I may lose a fan.
Exactly, because if you start going towards the trend, one day that trend is going to fade away. And then when you try to be yourself, when you try to backpack and be yourself, people are like, I don't like this. But if you were always the person you were, then no matter what trend is happening, it doesn't matter because you're still that. And people need consistency. People need to be able to rely on it. That's how a brand is built.
There you go. And building your brand, show after show. How many shows do you guesstimate you've done?
Nowhere near 5,000. Nowhere near 5,000. Hopefully, though, I'm trying to work on it. Though I've been in the span of 6 years. I'm up towards 1,000.
1,000 shows.
I'm up towards 1,000. I'm nowhere.
Wow.
That's the problem. See, he's gone, so I can say this because if he comes in here, I'm gonna be like, nah.
Well, we're gonna bring you guys back later in the show together.
Oh yeah, but I will deny everything as soon as he comes back in here.
Right.
Yeah, no, but he's Nico's a great comic, but we're also young enough but a lot of our viewpoints are like similar but also different. But he's a better comic, right? For now, he's a better comic for now. Wow. I want you all to know he's a better comic for right now because I don't know all the tricks yet. But so it's just fun to watch because it's almost like sparring. It kind of and he's just a good person.
Well, you want to know something as somebody a little older or a lot older. What I've learned about life, the truth is always somewhere in the middle anyway. It's not that this person's right, this person's wrong. Good people have a bad side, bad people have a good side. And, Dick Gregory used to get 8 newspapers. The Times, the Post, the left, the right, the middle. And he would read all 8 newspapers and make a decision what he felt the truth was. And I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, you just have to...
I mean, I'm a New York City Jewish liberal, but I still see the truth is in the middle many times.
When I used to play chess. I used to play chess in the park in New York City, right? And
with the Russians.
No, yeah.
A lot of Russians.
Yeah, there's a lot of Russians, but it was this homeless dude named Joe. And I'd come, I'd sit, I'd talk with them, and they're the ones who give the best insight. They're the ones who give the best insight. And one day he told me, he's like, chess is just a game of information. We both have the same information. It's just the information that you choose to pay attention to that determines whether or not you win or lose. And I said, well, then how come it's easier when I'm not playing that I can see which the right move is to make than when I am playing? He said, because it's easier to see over the valley than to see through it. And so that's why I think it's important. Once you gather all that information, gather all the news, then you make your decision. But at least you have all the information first instead of just picking a side. And then you realize there is no right or wrong. There just is.
Absolutely. And as a former educator, I taught children ages ago. Let's say 2 out of 3 kids pass a test. You go, wow, teacher did great, school did great, 66.6% success rate. Somebody else goes, the teacher's no good, the school's no good, 33.3% failure rate. It's the same statistics. It's how you play it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just what you choose to hold on to.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. We're going to bring you back later in the show with Nico. We'll talk about the state of comedy, and maybe we'll even bring up Bill Cosby, for better or worse, and all of that.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Mikey Mays will be back later in the show with Nico White. Coming up next, ring announcer, actor, a comic in his own right, Mike Scott. We'll be right back, folks.
Sleeping with hope, but dreaming of let down. Have you wanted to leave when it all starts to seem like your hope is all just words you speak. Words you speak, so you're not alone. And I'm trying so hard. I'm trying to breathe on my own. Feel what it's like to
right. We are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com. Just want to thank my sponsors. Frederick Gilbert, Born Forgotten Titan of the Gilded Age, a great book about a 19th century and early 20th century humanitarian who lived on Long Island. Frederick Gilbert, Born Forgotten Titan of the Gilded Age. Also, timothydark.net, great hip-hop meets rock, great young artist. And also Dr. Scott Bernstein, DDS. And we have one of our regulars. He was just here a few weeks ago, my buddy Mike Scott, who's a wrestling ring announcer, an actor, a voiceover artist. You've done some stand-up yourself.
Some stand-up, yeah.
So what's your take when you see two young comics who have put in 6,000 shows between them?
That I'm slacking.
Right.
Is what I look at it. No, they're great. We were talking in the green room. They're freaking amazing.
Yeah.
They're just funny kids, man. Funny, and I can say it because I'm almost 40. But yeah, they're funny kids, man.
Yeah.
And listening
Awesome.
to the mic talk was like, wow, that's like you were saying. What was I doing at 25? I know what I was doing. I was eating a lot of cheeseburgers. But yeah.
I was lost at 25. I had just quit teaching kids. I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I was teaching a bottom 6th grade class. I had a miserable principal. I was making $21.9, and I said to the kids, "Have a Merry Christmas," and I walked out and I never came back. This was 1985. They're still waiting for me. True story.
Oh man,
Kids still in class going, "Where is that son?"
That's right. That's right. So I was pretty lost back then, but I figured it out along the way, and here we are, 30 years later.
Yes.
So obviously you're involved with pro wrestling.
Still,
and,
you very much so.
We were talking about how at times the WWE can be stultifying, which
Yes.
for those who don't know the word, is not a positive. Numbing. They had an hour 20 Royal Rumble the other day.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about
I
it.
mean, I was fading in and out. I would fall asleep, and it was still an hour to go, and I'd wake up, and it was endless.
It was so
It's like
important
a
to me.
6-hour show.
I think the best thing was when that guy tripped into the ring.
You saw that?
They
Yeah,
said
yeah.
that the
Titus
Shockmaster
O'Neil.
That was
passed the
great.
torch to him.
That's right. That's like when you have a bad nightmare and you're like naked in public. This guy's in front of millions of people, and he falls and he slides. That was real. He
All right,
slid under
that's
the
what
ring.
I was going to ask you. Is that real?
That was
That
real.
really happened.
He fell. Yeah.
That was
I heard
crazy
it. I heard
because I saw it. It really looked like he fell, so I have to believe he fell.
You couldn't make that look like that. That was legit.
Well, again, it was so important to me that I did not watch it, and I was at my job, but I heard about him. The Titus O'Neil's the one that did it, right? Titus did it? Yeah. I heard about it, so it's like, okay. All right.
And he's supposed to be a super nice guy involved with a lot
Probably
of charities.
supposed to be.
So you hate for him to be
Bro,
embarrassed.
that
but-
will be the clip forever.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
show that forever. This guy's he's famous now.
Yeah,
More famous.
there's a guy in wrestling, the Shockmaster,
Oh, yeah.
who burst
Right up.
through a wall and immediately fell flat on his face, and his gimmick falls off his head.
yeah.
It was so embarrassing, and they played it a million times. But what happened is he embraced it, and now he does autograph appearances
That's
like
great.
that.
With the Shockmaster
Yeah.
helmet.
That's
Yeah,
great.
It's
so
a funny story.
it's actually made him money in the long run. So,
I mean, the craziest stuff does.
I mean, you could have named 5 great Titus O'Neil matches. Now people will love him for this.
Yeah. I remember the only thing you remember about Titus O'Neil was getting suspended for slapping Vince McMahon on the ass, and this.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's all he's got going for him.
Yeah, I mean he's not a bad wrestler, but he's missing some kind of magic. He's
They're all missing some kind of magic.
not AJ Styles.
Not AJ Styles and Nakamura. They got it. They just
Yeah.
need to be, like we were talking in the green room, they just need to be allowed to go out, do what they do, and say, go have fun, boys.
Yeah.
We're just going to let this
And
go.
for those who aren't avid wrestling fans, I'll simplify it. They had a match in New Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is one of the greatest matches you'll ever see.
Great
and
match.
now when they have the same 2 guys in WWE, they're very good matches, but they're not great matches, and that's a shame.
Yes.
It's like let them loose, let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And speaking of wrestling, coming very shortly, the documentary 350 Days, yours truly, the associate producer, starring Bret Hart and superstar Billy Graham, so it doesn't get much bigger
That's
than
gonna
that
be
name
awesome.
wise. So we're excited about that, and we'll be announcing, further down the road.
Yeah.
Very shortly, actually, we're going to be announcing when you could see that, where you could see that. And speaking of wrestling, coming to this station, Village Connection Radio at 11 Lake Place, right? 11 Lake Place. On June 3rd from 3 to 5:30 p.m., Marty Jannetty will be here signing autographs.
Oh, awesome.
So we're actually going to start doing some legends signing autographs at Village Connection Radio. And since I'm in plug mode, Monty and the Pharaoh, great wrestling show.
Yes.
Thursdays at 8:05, the old TBS time. 8:05.
8:05.
8:05 p.m. not
8:05.
Yeah,
PM.
8:05.
Yeah, so you were originally from Georgia.
I
so
am. I'm a Georgia boy.
tell us about your earliest wrestling memories.
Oh my goodness. I have a lot of them. I'll tell you a funny story. When I was like 10, we went. I've got a lot of funny stories. This is one of the funniest ones. We went to a wrestling show at a car lot. It was in a real car lot, and they do that in the South. They'll put on a wrestling show. They'll move the cars. And in the middle of the parking lot, they'll put on a free show to get people to come to the.
I've actually seen that in New York, but it's rarer here. Yeah.
This is the insane thinking of a Southerner. So the thinking is, we'll get people in here, and these poor people will buy a car.
Right.
Let's get them even more in debt. It'll be
Wow.
awesome. You get wrestling, everybody shows up. So there was a fat dude. When I say fat, he was bigger than me, and I'm a pretty big boy. In pink tights and a mask. And my father, who was a big boy, was in the front. Well, there really was no rows. You just stood around. There was no guardrails. It's like a parking lot, the people, and the ring. There's about 10 inches, not even a foot distance between the ring and you. So if someone gets thrown out, So the guy started doing his thing, and my father started talking crap to my father. And my dad was getting tired of it. And my dad's like, all right, you need to calm down. And the guy got in my dad's face. And my dad said, listen, I know what wrestling is. I will hurt you.
Wow.
So you need to go do your business. Leave me alone.
Wow.
And the guy never messed with us the rest of the night.
Wow. I guess he was smart enough to know Dad was serious.
Yeah, Dad was serious when he did that. And it just, meeting Tommy Rich in the bathroom was fun. Nothing weird, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Yeah, it was always awkward when you went to like an indie show and you're in like the next urinal from the wrestler and you go, it's probably not the best place to start talking to somebody. You know?
Well, I mean, I told a Tommy Dreamer while we were standing in the urinal, well, what the hell not? Hey, Tommy, how you doing over there?
Yeah, just don't look down.
Just
It's
don't
awkward.
look down, then it just gets awkward and weird.
Yeah. So,
But, yeah, I can tell you, then speaking of bathrooms and wrestlers, I'll tell you another funny one. When I was, I'll say about 10, 11, I went to a little indie show at a school near my house, and my little brother, went to the bathroom. There was 2 bathrooms, and nothing was really clearly marked as is to women or men. And there was these guys from Tennessee called the Nightmares.
I remember the Nightmares.
Remember the Masked Nightmares?
Ken Wayne?
Ken Wayne.
Yeah.
Ken Wayne wrestled in the main event.
Who's the other guy?
It was Ken Wayne, and he's got a school out in Memphis. Danny Davis.
Danny Davis. Yeah.
Danny Davis. Yeah. So I believe it was Ken Wayne was there, and we were in the bathroom, men's room, and we hear these women start screaming. And we're like, what? Turned out Ken Wayne went to the wrong room.
Oh, yeah.
So I was in the bathroom. Ken Wayne walks in and he goes, what you looking at, punk? And
Yeah.
I was like, nothing. And so I left.
Wow. Yeah. When you're a kid and you meet wrestlers, it's like they're 10 feet tall.
Yes.
I mean, even when they're not, it's
Yes.
like, because they're so huge, some of these guys.
Yes.
And it's almost intimidating, and they're like superheroes and supervillains when you're a kid. It's
Yeah, when it was good.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now everybody, I got a big bad guy on TV. So, kid, I'm sorry I scared you out there. I really apologize for that.
Yeah, it's a different world
My
today.
name's John. What's your name? It's like, no, man, that's not what. If I'm
You're supposed to scare the kid.
You're supposed to scare the kid.
Yeah, it's changed, right?
It has, but speaking of being a kid, meeting your favorite wrestler, I think I did a lot of conventions, And I did stuff working, cutting interviews, promos, people. But I still was that 10-year-old kid when I met certain individuals.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe I just did that with blah, 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 blah.
I'm like that when I meet like my favorite musicians from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's like if I meet like George Clinton, I like totally mark out because it's George Clinton.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And James Brown once hugged me, and Al Green started singing "Let's Stay Together" to me, and I'm like totally marking out. To me, these guys are 10 feet tall, you know.
But it just goes to show you.
But it goes back to childhood. It's always the childhood. I can meet the biggest star today, and I'd be like, I don't care.
Right.
You know, it's.
But when you meet your kids, you become that child again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so like.
Exactly.
It's so cool. I'll never forget the first time I did a show with Abdul the Butcher. And the promoter goes, "We want you to ring announce." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "All right." So the guy was like, "Yeah, they need a ring announcer." I said, "I got the best one in the state." And I was like, "Whatever." So he said, "Oh, by the way, did I happen to tell you that Abdullah was on the card?"
Wow.
And I said, "Just tell the man I don't need to get paid.
Wow.
I just want to hang out with Abdullah for like an hour." And I did, and it was very good.
I was ring announcing one night, and I look across the ring, and there's Tito Santana, and I think back to Tito and Greg Valentine headlining the Garden.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, there's 87 people there. It's an indie show in New Jersey, but still, in your head, you're going back to, you know, when you were a kid. And,
yeah, it's just the way it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So what else have you been... In the 3 or so weeks I haven't seen you, what's been happening with the acting?
You know, we got the acting going on. I'm in the middle of finishing up 3 audio books. I'm really, really excited about them. I'm hoping to get some... we're working on the grind on those books, and I'm working on the grind with my acting and my voiceover work and stuff like that. That's been the biggest thing. And, you know, I'm writing the books now, and all my books are on sale on Amazon. And... yeah, it's just...
And tell folks the themes of some of the books.
There is no theme.
No theme.
There is no theme. If you like silliness and you just want to read for 10 minutes while you're taking a dump and laugh, then buy my book. Because that is what my book is.
There you go.
Except for my life story, which it take 2 dumps and you'll finish it. But it's you know, it's... I am a silly person that makes no rhyme, no reason, no sense in anything in my life. Just ask my wife, she'll tell you.
You want to know, it's probably better than reading the newspaper on the toilet, because when I read the newspaper, I inevitably get angry about something. And I'm like, I'm going to stroke out like Elvis. I'm going to die on the throne. No... Speaking of comedy, you know who else died in the bathroom? Lenny Bruce.
Yes.
Yeah, Lenny Bruce died with a needle in his arm.
Yeah, sad.
Yeah. So I don't want to die in the bathroom because that's how people remember you.
Well, you know, I guess you're coming and you're leaving and you're going at the same time with your no pants on.
That was
so it
Richard Pryor had that line. He came and he went. He was having sex and he died.
That's
he came
me.
And he went.
Just to let you know, that's going to be me when I'm like 110. With a 20-year-old I met in Atlantic City. Just going to tell you.
There's worse ways to go. There's worse ways to go.
With a smile on my face.
You know, everybody always goes, you know, I'd like to just go to sleep and not wake up. And I'm thinking, but what about your wife? That's not too good for her.
No, I think that would be awkward.
Yeah.
Honey, wake up, honey.
Yeah.
Never mind. No, okay.
Yeah, you know, that's a little selfish if you think about it.
You're at peace, but your wife's freaking out when
like,
she wakes up in the morning.
Can you imagine?
It's like the guy in The Godfather with the horse's head sitting next to him.
See, this is what Nico and Mikey were saying before. You could laugh about anything. You know, you could. Comedy is really.
It is.
You know, dark humor. You could laugh about anything.
Yeah, I just wrote 20 little things while I was sitting there waiting.
Really?
Yeah. So that'll be my 7th book coming out.
I've seen Jewish comedians do Holocaust jokes, and you laugh, and you would think there's nothing funny about it, but
right.
Gilbert Gottfried, he does that.
Yeah.
And you go, this guy's really funny, and it's in character, and it's over the top, so you know you could get away with it.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up?
Not much. Just be on the lookout for my books coming out. Dining is one of the ones I'm very excited about. It's a horror novel written by a guy named Ty Schwanberger, and I've also got some other audiobooks coming out by a guy named Jeff Coulter. I did a children's book not too long ago for him, and I'm doing his other 2 novels, The Yesterday Christ and The Yesterday Christ 2 Genesis. So those are some Christian science fiction books.
Christian science fiction.
Which is awkward for me because I cuss like a sailor, and yeah. So
I saw her on YouTube today. I don't know if you guys ever saw this video. This little boy walks up to the Pope. It's not a joke. This really happened. The little boy walks up to the Pope, and he's crying, and he says, "My dad just died, and he was an atheist. And is he in heaven?" And the Pope said yes. Did you see this video?
No,
it's
I did
very
not.
touching.
I did
very
not.
moving. Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about it in the green room. Wouldn't that be something if we all get to heaven and everybody's there? Like
Everybody.
Everybody's there. Like
all those evil politicians.
they're all there. Donald Trump's hanging out. Everybody's
I thought you were
there.
a Republican.
I'm not in anything. I'm just saying. I'm just dropping
Yes.
names. Just dropping names.
Yes.
Don't shoot me. I'm just a
Yes.
fat white Southerner. Don't shoot me.
Yes.
So, but you know, everybody's there. That would be some stuff, wouldn't it?
It would be interesting. I think hell would be more fun with the strippers and porn queens. What do you think?
I think so. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are we going to be up there with the goody
Yeah.
two-shoes? I mean,
Can you just imagine being in heaven? I'm not going to tell that joke. Never mind. I just thought about the joke in my head.
it's Sunday. Be careful.
This is a Sunday, and I got to drive 3 hours home.
And you forgot to mention that you're going to be on Under the Radar at 1 o'clock with
yeah.
Randy Younger,
Yes. I'm the special guest there, and
which is pop culture, movies. I'm sure he'll be talking about the Avengers, and he'll be giving out exclusive spoilers which superheroes died. No, I'm kidding. I just made that up. You know, I find it interesting that people get so upset when a fictional character dies. Like the tiger Shiva on Walking Dead, a CGI tiger, not even a real tiger. People are like freaking out, you know.
well, I'm under the impression that people were stupid, and
You might be right.
and it never fails. It obviously never fails.
I mean, I get as emotionally invested in these shows as anybody, but I'm not going to need psychiatric help because a fictional character
it's
dies.
a TV show. Psst, here's a hint. It's fake.
Yeah.
What? It is?
Fake. I know it's scary.
You
Kind
know-
of freaked me out saying it. Spoiler alert.
You just blew Randy's whole show.
I
bro.
did. It's screwed.
On
Sorry, buddy. Love you.
On Talking Dead, following Walking Dead, they bring out the characters that were just killed, and they have to explain to the audience he's not really dead. You know, it's not that complex. He's an actor. I mean, it's like the moron factor.
Who does that? It's like going to church and the preacher's praying for you, and you get done. The preacher goes, "Okay, what we really meant to say was, he's still going to be sick for a while, but Jesus will touch him at some point today." It's like, time out. Just go have fun.
When I was a kid, and I would see, when I was a little kid, and I would see my school teacher like at the supermarket or the movie theater, I would like freak out because I thought they lived in the classroom. I thought that was their house.
I didn't think they were real. Like, they do things?
And when I was even younger, I thought the characters on the TV lived in the TV. So I was a stupid little kid.
Oh, you were like Mike TV on...
Like TV Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Come here,
Yeah.
pal. Let me
Come
see
here,
you.
let me in there.
I assumed they were like really singing and dancing inside the TV. That's how stupid I was as a kid.
It's like the Truman Show every day at Evan's
Yeah,
house.
that's correct.
My favorite TV story was when I was a kid, when my mom turned around, I would bring all the vitamins and drop them in the back of the TV set because I didn't want to eat the vitamins. So one day the TV finally blows, and back then you would bring the repairman. You didn't just toss the TV. So the repairman takes the back of the TV off, and 2,000 vitamins pour out, and he goes, I couldn't make this up, he goes, I think we found the problem. It's a true
But your
story.
TV's healthy.
Yeah, it was a healthy TV.
It was a healthy
but I was an
TV.
unhealthy, stupid kid.
I think we were all unhealthy and stupid.
Yeah.
I still am. So it works out.
Anyway, so stick around later because you're going to see Mike Scott on Under the Radar at 1 o'clock. And what else do we have to plug here at Village Connection, Jim?
We got all kinds of stuff going on, man. It's a busy month in May and June. We have the telethon.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Next
I will
Sunday,
not
right?
be here next week.
I'm sorry to hear that. I thought you were going to be here, bro. I
We're
really
gonna be
didn't
off
expect
and on,
that.
off and on all day.
You're just going to leave me with all that, right?
That's right.
Thanks.
Stroke Awareness Telethon
Thank you.
with Renee Marie Tester Adams. So
Nice.
don't miss
So
that.
yeah, we got that, and then we have the 2 wrestling events back to back in June.
Yeah.
We have Dr. D,
Yeah, Dr. D, Dominic DeNucci, and Shane Douglas. That's on Saturday the 9th, right?
the following week, right?
Saturday the 9th.
And then we have Butcher Blackwell is going to be at those 2 events also,
And you can meet Butcher Blackwell as well.
and Jim Savali will be signing headshots.
That's right.
Yeah.
And May 13th, we're going to do a tribute to my buddy Johnny Valiant with Jimmy Valiant. I'm sure you know
Oh,
Oh,
Jimmy.
the Boogie Woogie Man.
Gary
Yes,
Michael
sir.
Capetta
Yes,
and a
sir.
ton of other people
Nice.
paying tribute to a 2-hour tribute to Johnny
He's one of
Valiant
my
May
answer
13th.
heroes.
And
Nice.
that should pretty much do it.
Outstanding.
Mike Scott, always a pleasure. Always
Man,
a pleasure.
Evan, always good to be here
Same
in
here.
Long Island. Thank you very
There
much.
you go. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Nico White and Mikey Mays, and we're going to talk about the state of comedy in 2018, for better and for worse. So stick around for that, folks. All right.
I could be wrong, but the way that you said that, we don't belong, kind of felt like an ending.
All right, we are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com. Joined once again by Nico White, Mikey Mays, and we are going to talk about the state of comedy in 2018. You have Comedy Central, you have 2,000 different specials on Netflix,
Right.
You have the club scene. What's the good and bad of all of this? I mean, there's endless comedy.
True, but the one thing about stand-up is like when you get, it's like anything. If you put a boat into the water, you get to see where the holes are. And when you put out specials, people they'll only resonate with the ones that they resonate with. For all the specials that you heard of on Netflix, Comedy Central, and the like, how many of those have you then seen go from Netflix and then you're like, oh wow, they're at the theater? They're at the theater in my town,
I must see
so on
them.
and so forth.
Yes.
Right.
Very rare.
It's rare. So, you know, the people still make the decision at the end of the day. Ali Wong, that's her name, right? Ali Wong?
Yeah, the pregnant one?
She popped from her Netflix special because it was a great special. It was really solid. Awesome. Now, of course, there's some that you might see on Netflix that aren't, like they might not be as known. They might be dope pieces of work. But it might be, you know, it's kind of easy to get lost in the shuffle with all that content available. With Comedy Central, they do a lot of specials, but actually they don't do a lot of hour specials. They do a lot of half-hour specials. But the hour specials that they do, most of those people are already famous.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'll tell you, I watch a lot of comedy, and I'll sit there and I'll go, Nico White's funnier than this guy. Yeah. No, really. I say this quite often, and no, really. And so I often wonder about the politics and management and all of this. How did they get there? And, you know.
Okay, I'll be, damn it, Evan. So,
yeah,
I try to play political, you know what I mean? No, there's definitely some times where I'll look at stuff like that and go, I got enough material to do this in spades and not have anything to worry about. But, like, when the Netflix 15s came around, I didn't know they were even taking submissions until there was 2 weeks left.
Wow. You
know what I'm saying? It pissed me off. It was like, well, shit, I got white people for this. Why didn't I know this sooner? You know what I'm saying? With Comedy Central, I'm in the loop for that type of stuff. And, you know, you submit, but they get so many submissions.
Sure.
They get so many submissions. So you have the managers and all that stuff, but their relationships can only go so far. Right. Then you have the talent, and that can only go so far. Then you have, you know, people, and I don't know what they do, but some people look at the social medias and stuff like that, so who knows? But all in due time, and when it gets here, so it's going to be so much greater than it would have been than if it got here the year before. I don't sweat that stuff because I never think that it's not coming. You know what I mean?
Isn't there like an expression like better overcooked than underdone? Or
right.
Something like, because you know, like if you see somebody and you see their special and it's whack, then you'll be like, oh, that's whack. And so then the next time they come to your studio, whatever, you're not gonna, you're gonna be like, oh, that guy, he was all right. Whereas if you put out something great, then somebody like, oh, well, I want to go see that guy. Right. So, but sometimes that's the longer route. So,
and sometimes you go, cover, 2-drink minimum. The math isn't funny. Right. He wasn't funny enough for that. Yeah.
Right, and again, there's times where I'll be watching stuff, and my mom will come and she'll sit down with me and she'll watch. She'll go, that shit is not, like, I haven't laughed once.
Right.
If people ain't laughing at you for free in the comfort of their own home, then they might not take the risk of paying for you. That's one of the things I appreciate most, going out and not being a huge draw yet. The people that do come out, when I go back to towns, I see a lot of those same people again. And that goes to show that it's like, okay, we took a risk and we liked it. And we liked it so much that we can say when something does happen, that we were there when it wasn't really anything. We were some of the first ones.
Yeah, the other thing is, if you make it big at some point, and I'm convinced you will, when it hits, it's probably better to be older. So, you know, because you have more maturity and you're not going to burn through the money, you know. And no, really.
Yeah, but
sure.
My spending habits, I mean, and I'm blow through my money on food, like straight up. Steaks, chops, that's what I'm
there's nothing wrong with eating healthy, but I mean, no, I'm just saying, you know, you hear these horror stories that people burn through vast fortunes of money.
Right.
Like too much too soon, that's what they call it.
100%. And I don't know if you guys are like religious or anything, but there's
whatsoever. But it's okay.
But there's a phrase that my grandma and my mom use a lot, which is that God don't give you anything until you're ready for it.
Right.
You know, so when you're ready for all that stuff, because all this stuff comes with pressure. Even the level that I'm at now as a working comedian, that's pressure. Because it's like, okay, well, rent is this much. I need to put this much food on the table. Then mom's food is this much. And her bills are this much. Right. So I got to provide for those 4 things. And at any moment, if something doesn't go right, God forbid I fall down, break my leg, and can't move for a couple of days, all that stuff has to be factored in.
Wow.
You know, so there's pressures at all levels. And sometimes you got to be grateful for the pressures that you have and grateful for the pressures that you don't have. Because you had that pressure might drive you insane.
And what do you think of the whole Cosby situation? I find it interesting. Charlie Chaplin, who was 100 years before you guys.
Yeah.
He had many, many scandals, you know, with underage women, and and it hit the media and it hurt his career. But 100 years later, his art still survives. How do you think this is going to affect Cosby, who many feel was the greatest comic of all time?
Well, in 100 years, we're going to be dead. So
we won't know. So there's no answer to the question.
But I think the thing is, Cosby, he could have died. He could have died a long time ago.
Probably would have been better.
And
career-wise,
his legacy would have been, because a lot of times we like to remember people for all the good things they done. Right?
Yeah.
So now, like, if he would have died, let's say he would have died yesterday, or maybe even a week before this trial hit, then boom, he would have been remembered for the Cosby that gave us all these great things instead of the Cosby that's the convicted rapist.
You know, he probably wishes that when Twitter said he died, that was real right now. He probably wishes he never went back out. And, to Mikey's point, yeah, maybe he should have died before all this happened.
I'm saying, look, everybody pays for you pay for what you...
Yeah, you reap what you sow. Yeah.
You reap what you sow. But I'm saying, if we got Bill Cosby, the least we could do is get Woody Allen now. I mean, like, how do you...
Woody Allen wasn't a serial rapist.
I mean,
rapist, but how do you explain to your kid that his mom is also your daughter?
It is creepy, but it's still not serial rapist.
I mean, you're right. That's not the same thing. If we're going to get somebody, I want to see Harvey Weinstein finally go on trial.
Harvey Weinstein is a more comparable story.
You know what I mean? I mean, he's literally a more comparable story.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out, and if it doesn't work out,
it ain't not gonna happen.
You don't think so?
I
think this guy's gonna be on trial within a year.
I think in the era, especially now, I hope so. Because I'm damn, man. The thing with Cosby is, like, the art, I think will be fine. Because he did both of those things. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He was a great...
I think art survives any way you look at it.
Right, 100%. Yeah. He was the Bill Cosby.
I mean, they pulled it off of TV, but it'll still be out there forever. DVD, YouTube.
I mean, there's not even a need to pull it off TV, because this is what I don't like about people that in the media that went to, we got to pull him down. Well, shit, these allegations weren't new. And when they came out the first time, you ignored them. So either take some responsibility with him for ignoring these people when they came out the first time, or do what you're supposed to do and put the asterisk by his name, just like if he was a president or something like that. Okay, comedian, sitcom actor, serial rapist. Same guy. No, for real. Same guy. Same lifetime. That doesn't make the work any less great. That doesn't make you, that doesn't make you a bad person for enjoying the work.
Well, it's like Ty Cobb was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. The guy was a horrible racist, and he would spike the other players.
Right. Well, when you think about it, if you're competing against, here's the thing. Listen, you are whatever you are in prison. Okay, so like if you're a white, you're not supposed to be nice, especially if you're competing with somebody. You're not. So like, I mean, when it comes to racism, I think this is gonna be bad. But I think whatever you feel like in your heart or whatever, just feel that. But once you start acting on stuff, that's when it starts being.
You're judged by your actions.
Yes, but here's the thing about Cosby. All right, Cosby he raped these women, right? Mm-hmm. And he's paying for it now. But like you guys said earlier, without Cosby, we wouldn't have Richard Pryor. So
I mean, you wouldn't have. It's
so
way.
Thank you, Bill Cosby.
So in a way, I mean,
it's way bigger than Richard Pryor, though. This is what people don't understand about Cosby is that
he opened a lot of doors. Also, him and Dick Gregory.
Not even just for like black male comedians. If it wasn't for Bill Cosby,
TV star, movie star. Yeah.
No. female comedy wouldn't look like it looks because he got Joan Rivers on the Johnny Carson show.
Wow, okay.
She told that story. She said Bill Cosby went on the Carson show and the comedian bombed. And he told Carson, why don't you get Joan? Because Joan will at least be better than that guy.
Yeah.
Then Joan went on, and that was the night that Carson said, you're going to be a star. Now, if Cosby's not here, Joan Rivers isn't there to break the doors that she broke through. And then what would that scene look like? On the opposite scene, without Cosby, you don't get Seinfeld. You don't get Pryor. And you don't get anybody Pryor inspired.
You're a
forth.
comedy historian.
A
I'm
little
impressed.
bit.
I'm impressed. What do you think of Lenny Bruce?
I like Lenny Bruce. He would. I can't say he did it for me, but I could see why people appreciate him so much. It's the same thing when I went to go see Louis.
They used to arrest him for obscenity.
Right.
In the middle of his act, the police would come in and take him out in handcuffs. He opened some doors, believe me.
100%. But that's the point I'm getting to, which is that I don't have to personally be the biggest fan of yours to understand your importance. I went to see Louis before all the shit happened, but I went to go see Louis at Madison Square Garden, and I watched them, and I can see why people say he's great, and they're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm watching him like really be a master of his craft. Now, is it my does he crack my top 5? No. But is he amazing at what he does? Absolutely.
If you guys want to see somebody unique, I mean, he's gone now. Check out videos of Brother Theodore.
That I looked him up because you said so, and I liked him a lot.
You're right. Wow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was special, different.
It's crazy just how generationally, when you watch stand-up comedians, the spirit doesn't seem like it changes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The spirit seems the same. It's almost childlike. You get a group of people being the stand-ups that only want to go out and do their thing, whatever their thing is. Yeah. And they want you to enjoy their thing. And if you don't enjoy it, not that they're hurt by it, but it's going to mess up a good portion of their day if they can't make you have fun.
Because that's all they were waiting on that day was that thing. Like, they banked their whole day on that one thing. Mm-hmm. And then when that one thing doesn't go well, it's like, all right, well, guess I'll go home then. Like, you know, like,
right.
Yeah.
Bombing hurts, yo.
Oh.
Bombing hurts. And Donnell Rollins was like the first mentor I ever had doing stand-up. And I remember one time he came up to me, he was like, how much time can you do naked? And I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. So I'm from Harlem. I got weirded out. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. He's like, how much time could you do if the crowd doesn't like you? Like, you booked to do a certain amount of time. How much time can you do before you go, I'm done? And back then, I remember saying 30. I was like 18. I remember I said 30. I didn't lie, but it wouldn't have been a good 30 if I didn't have the crowd at least on my side. Now, I can do the whole hour, knock on wood, I've never had to, but I can do the whole hour to nothing if that ever became the case. But to bomb, especially for that long a time, that shouldn't make you understand suicide.
Wow.
Straight up.
Do you have a bomb and kind of like just go with it?
Yeah.
And like just make it like, yeah, I'm bombed, let's just go.
I've had a set where you know when you say something and the crowd just turns off on you?
Every day.
Right.
Every day, yeah.
So I have a joke about white female privilege, right? Because it's a play on how much attention we give the white male privilege thing and not to the other end. So I hit the joke and I was in one of those real like so-called liberal rooms, right? And I say so-called because to be a liberal you gotta be open to other people's ideas. And they were not. So I hit the bit and I could feel them tense up. But instead of getting like bummed out, it almost turned me on. I was like, oh word. This is your line? Yeah. Watch. By the time the set was over, like after 5 minutes, I turned them back to my side because I laid into them. Because every time they reacted a certain way, I harped on the reaction. Because I know why you're reacting like this. It's not because you don't like the joke. It's because the sensitivities that you think you should have are being stepped on right now. You don't really feel this way. Because there was one girl that went to laugh. She did like this. I said, why are you covering your mouth? I said, this is the one place that no matter how weird your laugh is, it's warranted. I need to hear that. And she said out loud, she said, Because she said, I didn't want anybody to get mad at me for laughing at that.
Wow. It's like the comedy police.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But people are policing themselves nowadays.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like one of my favorite things. I was talking about a retarded kid on stage, and this girl goes, I'm allowed to say retarded, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Anyway, I was talking about a retarded kid on stage. Here's the thing. Artificial insemination. That's like $30,000 to get that done.
Wow.
What if your kid comes out retarded? Like, aren't you allowed to go to the doctor and be like, look, man, this isn't what I ordered? Because if you did it naturally, you get a retarded. Well, that happens if nature. But if you go and you get your stuff cooked in like a microwave before it's put into you, then it still comes. And this girl, she was like, "Oh, this is so bad. Why am I laughing at this?" And that was the greatest. That was like one of the because it's that. Those are those kind of things. It's like 'cause you're policing yourself, and why?
And that's one of the beauties of this, to be able to make people not go against, but they'll like, you'll start saying something, they're thinking it's going a certain way, and then by the time it's over, you completely turn. And one of my favorite stories, and it happened in this little place called Sing Sing in the Village.
As opposed to the prison.
Right, as opposed to the prison. I ain't going to the prison. Unless they do a comedy show and pay me very well, I'll show up. But I'm doing the bit about white female privilege again, right? And one of the lines in the bit is that I wish I could be as comfortable around police officers as drunk white women. And then I finished the bit. There was a girl in the audience. She came up to me afterwards. She was like, I was ready to hate that joke, because as soon as you said that, I thought about the time that I was raped by a police officer.
Wow.
But then she said to me, by the time you finished that joke, I couldn't stop laughing. And I was like, now nobody can ever tell me shit about that joke. You know what I mean? Wow. If anybody's like, well, I was a fan of well, did you get raped by a cop before? No? Well, then your level of offense can't do anything to me. Because if I could turn her, then damn it, I'm working with something.
There you go. Why don't we take a very brief time out and bring Phil Flames up here? Sit next to me, Phil.
Heck yeah.
And join the conversation, because I don't want to run out of time here.
Heck no.
I did the same thing earlier, dude.
Oh, you almost fell?
Yeah.
Hilarious. Mr. Flames.
There you go. Now you're the co-host.
All right, co-hosted.
There you go.
Fire flames.
So
the buttons are on point, by the way.
This is the new style here. Phil
Yeah.
Flames.
I wanted to do something fly.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the state of hip hop? We have a hip hop artist here. What's your take? We hear a lot of criticism of commercial hip hop, but we have a lot of great indie hip hop artists.
I feel like that's probably where you get some of the best hip hop, is the indie scene right now, because a lot of what they put on the radio, like, and I like Cardi B a lot. As a matter of fact, I don't feel like they give her enough credit, but there's certain people that's just gibberish. What the fuck are you talking about?
Shouldn't you at least understand what they're saying?
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
The words are supposed to be important, right?
Now, they make sounds, man. They're like mutes out here.
I will say this though. I will say this on it now. Okay, it's the same when you know how like every generation they grow up and they believe in a thing, right? So
right.
So the generation before us, they grew up like, oh, we have to go to college. We go to college. We get a good job. We make money. We have a family. Blah blah blah. Now we're in a generation we can just do what we want. We don't have to go to college. We can just like, and so a lot of these kids are getting famous. They're getting famous by making music for their friends.
Yeah, with new age hippies.
Yeah, so so these people are basically making stuff that all their friends like, and then we're catching on and like, oh, that sucks. So like they didn't make it for us. So on that note, I can understand it, but at the same time, it's garbage.
In jazz, we have scat singing. You don't have to understand every word,
right?
But, but sometimes it is a little juvenile. Sometimes,
at least Little Richard said about bamboo. I can understand those three sounds. What the fuck are you talking about, Quavo?
I enjoy scatting though, because at least scatting makes sense, because like it's call and response. So they would because the scatting is going with the instrument. So it's like, boom, I'm gonna call to you, and then my sax is gonna do a little something. I'm gonna call back, and then the drums are gonna do a little something. Whereas like Quavo, who's doing what? Quavo, we're supposed to be dancing right now. What are you saying?
Between him and Past the Future, whatever his name is, that Future, bro, I can't. I can't. I tried to read his lyrics one time and just got sad.
I'm a fan of Future, man. I don't mind Future. like you said, they make this stuff for their friends, like, and that's what all hip hop was. Wu-Tang Clan was friends making music for each other.
Yeah.
It's just like the influences were different. So like in those times, you had like there's drug dealers now, and there was drug dealers then. The difference then was that the drug dealers was like trying to keep the kids off the streets. They was trying to keep the kids out of that stuff. So when Wu-Tang was kids, they were learning from those guys, trying to tell them how to do something different. And these days, though, the older guys, like, they just use the younger guys to do the stuff that they can't get away with no more. So it's like a generational thing. It's like somewhere along the lines, the kind of like real big homie kind of like thing got lost.
Right,
somewhere along the line.
I can agree with that. I also
what I'm saying?
think, though, like fashion wise, I think some of them kids get way too much scrutiny than what they deserve. Because when you look at, my pops grew up. My pops was born in '59, so grew up in the 60s.
I was born in '59.
Oh, yeah?
I could have been your father.
You sure could have, depending on where you were in '93. But
wow, small world.
When you think about it, right? Because they'll talk about how the kids dress. And then I look at old pictures.
Yeah, right.
And it's
You
like,
see the old Soul
pops. Y'all used to want to dress like the Isley brothers.
Yeah.
Who's like
He's
pants.
dressed like the Isley brothers.
Shit. The Isley brothers back in the day, it looked like their pants were painted on. You know what I'm saying? Everything was so tight. Y'all were wearing damn near women's shirts.
Yeah.
And y'all shitting on the little dude that's
Prince.
out wearing Prince. Prince, and my pops loved Prince.
Yeah.
But Prince was in high heels, leather. He dressed like some more. Prince dressed just like
He had
some
the
more.
assless chaps.
Yeah.
And he could take your wife too.
Yep.
Take
Right,
your wife,
but
your
right.
girlfriend anyway.
100%.
But that's the thing. People get mad because whatever's happening in the new generation reminds them that their generation is obsolete.
It's getting older, right?
For example, with gangster rap, because I'm a huge hip hop head. Trust me, I'll get into arguments with this man over rap. But the thing is, a lot of people say gangster rap is like a negative influence on black kids and black culture. But what they don't understand is gangs have been around long before gangster rap. Gangster rap was that outlet that, like, hey, we're frustrated and this is what we're actually going through. So a lot of people on the outside are like, oh, this is inciting violence, when really it was just trying to tell people, look, this is what our life is like. Because gangs, before gangster rap, people were getting shot to Dancing in September.
Right.
You know, so like...
And it's like, you can't incite violence through... If you're talking to me, right? We all know each other, right? Now, let's say you made like the most gangster fucking rap song you could put out, and it's like, oh well, that's what's making the kids violent. No, it's not, because I know exactly what he's talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Video games don't make people violent.
No.
They're
People
crazy
have
to
violence.
begin with. If a video game sets them off,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Humans need their killing. Like, humans need it.
Yeah.
You guys,
Apparently-
they say we're animals.
That much is apparent.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? How much time do we have? Yeah.
Got about 7 minutes.
Cool, I was gonna be quick. Kosher
Do a
beef.
7-minute set. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm not doing it. I learned this about like when kosher beef, like it's beef blessed by a priest, right? Yeah. So what it was, well, back in the day, people had farms and stuff like that. They had their own animals or whatever, but they would have one person, the priest, who was a man of God. He would also be the butcher, because if you gave regular people that responsibility of killing animals, they'd be like, well, what else can I kill? But they think a man of God would have the responsibility to not do so. So when you have video games and movies like The Walking Dead, it's people killing people, but these people are zombies now, so you don't realize that they're people.
Exactly.
So, but it's an outlet, so that way it's like, okay, look, if we play this, that's why anybody who murders somebody in a movie gets paid millions of dollars. Anyone who murders somebody in real life gets 25 to life. You see,
well, you could get millions of dollars depending on who you know you're doing it for. I'm just saying, if you're gonna make something, business.
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, what is the mental like state of the people who work in like butcher shops and or those
they're
farms?
probably the calmest, nicest people.
Because they kill cows like all day.
Right. Well,
dozens of them a day.
They cutting meat all day. It's a certain there's certain tolerance you have.
My grandfather was a butcher. He was mellow.
Yeah, well,
meat I feel like is different.
It's a
'cause
passion
dead
thing
already.
almost.
But it's like to kill the cow first.
Oh, well.
What is the mental state of the guy who has that job?
They say the cows know. The cows like freak out when they go into that room.
Well, my family's from down south, Orangeburg, South Carolina, and they get into that whenever I come to visit or anything like that. The pig fest, the fish fry. So, as far as I know, and again, they're not like licensed people for that, but it's almost a pastime for them. Like the way I do comedy is the way that they would go thing the pig. You know what I mean? There's a certain level of dignity that they have for it. There's a way of doing it right. It's a technique to it.
It doesn't hurt them as much.
Right. But I'm sure a hitman could say that same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the pig's probably having a terrible day. But that's...
Yeah, but it's all over.
Pigs are smarter than dogs.
Hell yeah, they're smarter
They know
than
what's
dogs.
going on.
And dogs are smart.
Well, they have to be. Dogs are stupid. They have to be, because think of you know how evolution works. You know what I'm saying? So a pig, especially one that's born in America, so far your life is live to die to be put on a plate. Their instincts are probably insane because they have to be. Dogs are fucking stupid. Eddie Griffin had the best line: dogs are the house niggas of the animal kingdom. That's what Eddie Griffin said about dogs, and it's so true. One of the dopest lines. It's called Dysfunctional Family. If you ever get a chance, check it out.
I saw your bit on the dogs on national TV.
Dogs
Tell
and
us about
Stroll.
that.
So it was something that I seen and I really hated it because I don't like how important pets are becoming, like over human beings.
You have something in common with Trump. Trump doesn't like dogs.
I mean, look, as long as that's the only thing I have in common with that ass. But it's like
I just outed him.
At the end of the day, your pet is your pet, and it doesn't get more. It shouldn't have child amenities. I was walking on 116th Street, and the fact that this lady's white doesn't matter, but the dog was in the stroller with 4 booties on his paws, and it's like he doesn't belong there because he's healthy. The leash, he still had the fucking leash around his neck, holding it as he's in a stroller. For what? For what? There's somebody out there who's broke and can't afford a stroller. Meanwhile, you have a pug in a stroller. Go die. Fucking plebeian. All that money that you spent on in a nice stroller too. Nice stroller. A baby
$2,000 strollers.
A baby would have killed to be in that same stroller. And then, like, when the pets die, and I get this because you build an attachment with your pet, but it's like I'm done giving human condolences for when your pet dies. I'm done. I get the attachment, but damn it, you didn't lose your husband. Okay, you lost your pet,
and they probably didn't even like you that much.
Fuck no.
No,
you are a means to an end.
Yeah.
If those dogs,
that's cats. That's cats.
But see, cats are smart. Again, back to Eddie Griffin, who you mentioned earlier. Great line. He said, "Try telling a cat to sit."
That's right. That's right.
I don't know. I can't stand that. I can't stand what we've done to dogs, and I can't stand the importance that they've gotten in our society over humans. People will save a dog from drowning before they'll save a kid in some cases.
You should be like a heel wrestling manager. You could turn the crowd on you with this bit.
I'd love to. If I could get like the Thea Vidal job that she had on WWE, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Vince, if you're listening, call me. But I heard you don't like to pay some people. Well, no, y'all owned by Disney. Yeah, call me. I'd be down.
I do some heel managing on the indie wrestling circuit, and I get the crowd to turn on us. You'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's like comedy.
Oh, that's
in a sense. Yeah.
I always like those guys.
I could get a whole building.
What is heel wrestling?
That's the bad guy, bro.
I do like bad guy managing.
Oh,
you'd be great.
I
got you.
I could get a whole building to boo me instead of clap me.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, he'd be great.
Yeah,
at that.
I'd kill that.
There you go. We should talk to Mike Scott over there. He does some wrestling promoting. We'll talk to him in the green room.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
Interesting. Anyway, guys, we are rapidly running out of time. Any quick plugs to wrap things up?
Quick plugs. I plugged the website earlier. NicoWhite.com, NekoWhite.com. Catch me in a city near you. I'll even bring Mikey as a bonus, all right?
There you go.
I'll be in Trenton, New Jersey at Wreck the Mic at the Mill Hill Saloon on May 5th. And May 12th, I'll be up in Harlem at the Fantasy and Color Art Exhibition. Yeah. So pop out. I got buttons, you know what I mean? 1 for 3, 2 for 5. Holler at me.
He's so mellow. You gotta learn.
Yeah, he's just like he's chilling.
Cause my day job is on Spotify and everything, all of that stuff right now.
Plug your website and everything. And
Yo,
spell your name because it's hard to spell.
It's a weird one. So my website is flames.wixsite.com. facebook.com/official.
Yeah,
And you
that
spell
is weird.
Flames PHLA, Y as in YOLO, M as in marijuana, Z as in Jay-Z. Alright? Flames.wixsite.com/official. Everything else is spelled exactly how it sounds like it's spelled.
There you go. Mikey, you want to
Word.
plug anything?
Yeah, you can catch me at Yonkers Comedy Club on May 6th, 7 p.m. and Stress Factory on Mother's Day. And my website is Official Mikey Mays at officialmikeymays.com at I'm kidding. It's official.
About to say that's a lot. This is an Instagram tag.
All right, that'll about do it. The Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com. We want to thank all these great guests and Mike Scott. And thanks to Jim Savali for offering us this forum, this unique forum.
Big Jim
Yes,
Savali.
indeed. Y'all
Thank
need
you
to
so
see
much.
the African art around here,
Love
yo.
it, right?
There you
And
go.
the dream catcher. And the beetle.
Nice, the Beetle.
And the banjo.
There's a lot of culture going on in this room. A lot
A
of
whole
things
lot.
happening.
But a lot
Is
of
that
mixing
poster-
cultures.
It's all mixed.
Crooked on purpose? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it just aged like that.
That
It's
looks-
so old.
No, it looks cool like that. I didn't know if it was like on purpose like
Nope.
Is
that.
that Lennon?
Yep.
Oh, word. I can't stand the Beatles.
Ah,
Really?
I can't stand them. Overrated.
You would definitely be good in wrestling. He can
oh,
turn a
he's
crowd.
definitely a heel.
Yeah.
Yo, I like Strawberry Fields, but the rest of that shit is garbage.
It's the same with the whole generational thing. The Beatles were basically the first NSYNC.
Yeah,
That's,
straight up.
that's all they were.
Yep.
They're just like
Rick James is more talented than all of those dudes. Disgusting.
I love Rick James, but I can appreciate the Beatles also.
Change my
I
mind.
can appreciate them, but garbage. I can appreciate the smell of trash for only so long.
the Beatles. made
I'm
music
kidding.
for,
I'm
like,
trolling.
People who didn't want to dance.
Right,
That's what it
I'm
was. It was just
trolling.
like,
Nico White will be a heel manager any day now in pro wrestling.
Right.
He turned on Dogs and the Beatles in 5 minutes.
Hilarious. I'm only kidding about the beat. Well, no, I don't really like their music, but yeah. I got in an argument with this girl back in high school because she's a Beatles head. And so when I find out stuff like that, I'm not really invested, so I'll just fuck with you. So I love Michael Jackson. And she was like, oh, the Beatles are better than Michael Jackson. And I went on a tirade. Like, it's not even close. It's not even
I saw Michael
I was
live.
like, yeah, bitch. Well, Michael owns the Beatles, so
Well, right,
That's right,
exactly.
that's
Exactly. They work for him.
yeah, so check and mate.
All right. One last thing. I'm gonna.
Oh, we're still on.
Oh, we're still on.
My bad.
I'd have never said that shit. We're still recording.
I'm gonna dispel the myth that Michael Jackson was the greatest entertainer of all time. No, James Brown. Michael
Okay.
studied James Brown.
I'll accept
I'll give
that.
you that. Yo, we just had an interesting conversation with somebody. Who's more popular now, Michael Jackson, like recognizable Michael Jackson, or Snoop Dogg?
What?
Ooh, Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
But I get what you mean.
Snoop is
I
like
get
the
what you
most
mean.
recognizable like
Snoop,
face around the
Snoop
world.
is one of the most like top 5. I think
Oh,
he's top 5.
recognizable.
One
Like,
most
I'm not
recognizable.
even gonna talk about music.
No,
Just recognizable
recognizable
personalities.
person.
Face
I
and
got you.
name.
Yeah.
Face and name.
Snoop
I
is,
think
like, one of the
Snoop
most-
Dogg is right up there. I think he's right up there.
If it's Michael Jackson's one, Snoop is like maybe
Snoop is maybe
3.
2 or 3 because Snoop has really transcended his art form and just in general.
To icon.
Yeah, he's an icon.
I'm trying to be like Snoop when I grow up, man.
There you go. When he grows up. All right. We got to wrap it up, folks. Under the Radar with Randy Unger coming up, and that's a pop culture show. I'm sure he'll be talking about the Avengers, so stay tuned,
can't
folks.
listen to
And once again, we want to thank all these great guests. The Evan Ginzburg Show, Village Connection Radio, each and every Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you so much. Signing off.
Fuck the Beatles.
There you go.
Raceway bound on the ride to Dover. Guns, colognes, and porn all over the streets were replete with signs of the times. Designed by the violence, the money hungry mind that said, don't wondering how this could possibly be. Firefly, follow me right down the street. Free love, soul flow is the prime goal. Emancipate your mind, baby, watch the show. Where you laugh at our dreams. I can't help but believe. Here we fall, then we fall. Man, there's some good company. Those that die to live a dream are with me. If we believe we can roll, your opinion matters no more. You're wasting your time and also mine with your sarcastic disbelief. If only you could know what it means. When you laugh at our dreams, I can't help but believe. Here we fall, then we fall. Man, there's some good company. Those that die are with me. Come on. And I know when I dream, each lonely night as I